What's up, everybody? It's John Delorier, Big Roost Podcast. Today, a special guest, Michael Gogan. He's been in the roofing space for a long time, but now VP of Partnerships at HireBus. Michael, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Let's talk about hiring. Nobody wants to talk about that because it's hard. And we've met at some events this year, but just to be fully transparent, I've been on your website twice, and today was one of them. And I was like, let's go through the whole process. You guys really do have something that is unique that I see, that if I was still have my roofing business, that I would be wanting to use, because hiring is hard and you guys do make it way easier. Let's break down, how do you make it easier? How do you make it better? How do you put the right people in the right seats? What's part of the process?
Yeah, so lots to unpack there. I'll kind of just start at the beginning. So our ultimate goal is that what we know to be true is most roofing contractors, most contractors in general, are generally hiring from behind. They're playing catch up, if that makes sense. You know, it's like, hey, I'm reactively hiring. So our ultimate goal is to get you to where you as the contractor are building a bench of talent versus reactively trying to get the warm bodies in. I owned a donut company here locally, and I was reactively hiring every single time. Like, yeah, lost my donut fryer. I need to hire one tonight so I don't have to fry the donuts. So I get it. But our goal is that we first catch you up, get you caught up, and that we are then just kind of running in the background, keeping your hiring on autopilot so that you as the contractor know, hey, I'm going to have the top 3% of applicants on my calendar to interview. The other 97% HireBus is taking care of. They're getting rid of that other 97% for me. I'm not spending any time on it. I'm interviewing the best of the best, making those decisions. And we can kind of dive into kind of what that process looks like a little bit, but it starts at the beginning. You know, we go in and we use the job boards. You can win on Indeed just fine, but it's like anything else. You know, if you don't know how to use it, or you're, you know, kind of a new to it, similar to Facebook, you know, that's why all these marketing companies are so successful, because we don't know how to use Facebook and we can go spend a lot of money on it with no results. That's how a lot of the job boards are as well. So what we do is we go in, we write your job description for you or with you. We work on, you know, the catchy job title. We work on how to format it. We actually put our credit card on file for you. So we're running all the paid ads. So, you know, if you say, hey, I want 6 interviews a month on average, we'll throw our credit card on there. We're running the ads for you. We're running them through a really solid vetting process to make sure that we're just giving you the top 3%. And, you know, that vetting process is ideal candidate persona or ideal candidate blueprint, which we build with you, the contractor. Our right seat assessment. So it's a proprietary traits-based assessment that spits out, you know, scores on inside sales, production manager, customer service. So roles that you have in your business, scores them on that. We do the phone screen interview. And then if all things check out, we put them on your calendar. And it's wild. I had a call today with a current client and they said, hey, we can be a little bit more flexible on this. Can you give us a little less top tier? You're giving us such good stuff, but I'm open to some more green beans type of thing. And so that was really cool for me to say, hey, our system's working really well. They're saying, hey, what you're sending me is so good. I'm thinking maybe the next line of applicants might be okay as well. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's what you want. That's where you want to be from your perspective. Let's break down kind of somebody, you know, hires you guys. Let's break down the writing the job ads part. Let's break down like what kind of company profile, what does that process look like? Like, how do you onboard people to make sure that you're like meshing? I know you guys have best practices for what you do and you're using technology to help with that, but how much input does the contractor get when they're starting with you guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't want to give too loose of an answer here, whereas almost as much as they want, but within reason, we want to involve the contractor, but like you said, we also have a lot of best practices. We know the regions, we know the jobs. There's often times where we say, hey, John, if you want that role, you're probably going to have to pay $4 more an hour than what you're currently,
Yep.
need the ad at. We're happy to run the ad for you, but I don't know that we're going to find what you're looking for at that price. So I think there's a good balance there where, we're bringing data to the table and saying, hey, this is what we know to be true for this role, for this industry, for this market, but then also leaning on them, because the big thing is, I think, the culture, what things in your business are kind of non-negotiables. And that's where our ideal candidate blueprint and the persona comes into play. Is we're trying to really mold that careers page application to your business versus, trying to, just make it the same every time. It's not just the standard, like, oh, here's the 7 questions that HireBus is always going to ask. We're going to mold that too and be as detailed as you as the contractor want it to be.
That makes sense. From experience, going back to reactive hiring, I am definitely guilty of that. And I can just the beginning of this conversation makes me have some PTSD about, it's emotionally, mentally draining to bring on someone, especially if you're a small shop, but it should be a process driven. I mean, using AI and what you guys are doing is so much better than what it was 10 years ago when I was doing it, but I've made a lot of mistakes and they cost a lot of money. It's so much money. It's not just not growing. It's actually costing the company revenue because you're training somebody who's not a good fit. And you're saying, I need a warm body. And that's not really the way you should be hiring. We all know this is true.
I mean,
it's like, but what do? I just get on Indeed, right? I go on Facebook and say, hey, anybody in the whatever area, that is not the right way to do it. That's what I did. That's what most people do. What you guys do, there is a lot of money as far as the cost to make the wrong decision. There is a lot of that, but it is so detrimental to your mental state to be like, I got this new person, now I got to fire them. I mean, I have just straight up, I fired 2 single mothers in my career for 2 different companies that I've been with. That is really, really hard to do. And it's like, I set very clear expectations. They refused to do them. I gave them so much grace. And it's like that. People don't understand that. Like, it's really, really hard. So I just want to say this conversation has started out to make me feel like my past could be different if I had you guys moving forward. So I don't know. That just came into my head.
I mean, I'm sure you made hires that in the back of your mind you knew weren't going to work out.
Sure.
You knew as you were bringing the person on, like, this is a Band-Aid. This isn't the solution. And I've got several personas I talk about when you're hiring. The hardest ones, and I've got male names, but stick around Steve. But I'm going to guess those single mothers were similar to my stick around Steve persona.
They are.
Steve,
Definitely.
Steve shows up every day. Steve's on time. Steve's presentable. Steve does everything right. Steve's not a cancer to your culture. Steve just can't sell. He can't close. And every day that Steve sticks around and is running appointments for your business is a day in all those leads that somebody that can close should be running. But it's like, how do I get rid of him? He's a great guy. He's providing for his family, and those are all legitimate things. And that's another thing about our right seat assessment is, maybe Steve's a marketing creative, and maybe you need to turn somebody loose on your Facebook, and you can actually see, hey, what are my current team members? What are their strengths? Where does their level of genius? Where does that live? And maybe I can move somebody around so that I don't have to carry that burden of knowing, well, I either have to have Steve running appointments, which I know isn't great, or I have to get rid of Steve. And I don't like either of those options. So I just kind of live in the current.
Yep. I love it. Again, you keep talking about right seat scoring. You said those words to me for a long time. And finally, I'm like, it's right seat. It's your proprietary like AI / and that uses behavioral science.
Yep.
Like people need to I just touching that really quick. Like it is a special thing about what you guys do, and it is like today the ProLine team. I believe it's today actually as we're recording this. They're doing a disc assessment. So like we do care. I've done disc assessment too. I love personality type tests like that, and what you just said actually rings true to me. Those roles that were fired, the two single moms, they could have been in a different spot and probably been more successful if I had a tool like the right seat scoring. Like I would know where they're supposed to be. And if I look back in the past and see where they went, it's true. Like they were supposed to be in a different role. And that's totally fine. But I didn't have any kind of guidance or any way to help me assess that.
Yep. Yeah. And then, that's the beautiful thing is with HireBus, you can leverage it on everybody that's coming into your business. We run everybody through it. We tell you how they score. And, like the company I was talking to today, we like to push 8s and above, sometimes 7 and above, depending on the role. And they said, hey, these 7s are great. Can you start throwing us some 6s? We want to see 6s. Maybe it's crazy. Are good for us. And it's like, okay, we can do that. But it's also great for your existing team for that exact reason where you can say, hey, we're going to have everybody take this. And depending on the size of your organization, if you have a small sample size, you only have 5 sales reps, it's probably tough for us to build a benchmark off of your top 1 or 2 performers. But if you've got 40 sales reps and I said, hey, why don't you send me your, top 10% to top 4, top 5, we can actually build a benchmark off of your top performing sales reps if you have a large enough sample size. Our sample size is tens of thousands, so we have a really large sample size, but maybe in urban Georgia where you're at, maybe that inside or outside sales rep just looks slightly different, and you can say, hey, here's 40 reps, here's my top 4, let's see how their assessments look. And that's a super powerful thing, and that's all right there in HireBus. We also have the ability to take your assessment and my assessment and use a comparison tool and see how well we're going to work together. Where would there maybe be conflicts?
That's pretty awesome.
That's actually probably my favorite thing. So I'm going to give a shout out to Jeff Valder. He's working with John Bros doing Day 41 Thrive, but he and I worked together long ago at Company Cam, and it took us a long time to really understand how we would work well together. And if we had this assessment where we both had taken it and thrown it together, it would have just jumped off the page at us, because I'm a super high 95 score on my creativity, and I'm an ideas person, and I'm running and I'm going. And he is a very meticulous, detail-oriented, get everything done. Well, until we learned that and learned that that's his superpower and my superpower, we would, clash, because I'm coming with half put together, half baked ideas and no organization and structure. And he's over here saying, this is going to drive me nuts. When in reality, I could bring the half baked idea to him. He would line it together and we'd be running on it, and that's what HireBus allows you to do. How does your sales manager work with your top performers, and why?
I like that. I really do. That's a huge thing, because I've been very fortunate to have people that like to work well together. But as any organization grows, it becomes a concern, because you have different personality types, different ways people work, just like what you described. So you guys handle writing the job ads. You help manage the job ads. Now we're screening for the bad candidates, and like you gave the ranking system on your website, it's pretty awesome how it ranks people. And that is very interesting that somebody's like, we have a bunch of 7s. What about the 6s? That's a huge thing. Talk to me about like the interviewing, like AI powered interviewing scheduling. Like how does that work?
Yeah. So I don't know when this will go live, but I can tease this out. We are really close to launching the ability for you to make a job posting with us. We'll drive the candidate wherever we find them. If we find them on Facebook, Google, Indeed, wherever we source that candidate, we drive them to your careers page so that they're on your site. And I'm going to say here, it'll be this calendar year, you'll be able to have a candidate run through application through initial phone screen interview within 25 minutes. We will take them from and then we were talking offline, that speed to lead, like imagine that. They land on this page, they start applying, and they say, holy cow, I'm doing a phone screen interview in real time. And that's where we're going with AI, is conversational, phone screens that then our recruiters just have to come in on the back end and make sure everything's clean and all the boxes check. But yeah, we're using AI all different places. We're, able to scrape the resumes. We have them upload a resume, and we're scraping all that resume, and we're asking questions. We're also providing you, as the final interviewer, questions based on the resume, questions based on that assessment that you can be asking as well. And it's amazing. Like when I look at some of the ones, because I took the assessment, and that's actually how I ended up getting the HireBus, was I took the assessment, not looking for a job, and one thing led to another, and here I am. But I look at the questions that it should ask me, and it's like, man, those are spot on for me. Like, hey, tell me about a time where you had a project that you had to really push to get it across the finish line. And it's like, oh, that's something I do sometimes struggle with. Like my world is, hey, this idea. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to be able to push it across the finish line. And that's where AI is really helping. It's like, hey, John, tell me about this. And it's like, oh, it scraped your resume and it scraped your assessment, and it builds this perfectly crafted question here that is going to get you an answer to kind of press on some different pain points and things in the job.
Yeah. So going back to what you were saying about, I think before we hit record, was like these $1 million producers have probably slipped through the cracks, right? So I can look back at my own business and I know that this actually happened. Like really high level people slip through the cracks because of the ability to react quickly enough. So you're losing from that perspective because you're not getting the best people because you're not reacting fast enough. But let's say you have HireBus and you're using all these processes, it's impressing the potential hire. It's like this company's got it together. They care about the position that I'm in. They care about hiring the best. They're investing in the hiring process. Like in the roofing world, that just doesn't happen. Like people are like, come on, let's go. It is super impressive what you can do and how you can impress your potential customers. Like ProLine did that for our hires. It was like a really easy thing because it was like, oh, this feature, this company did this thing to make my life better. It's just a really good position to put yourself in if you use HireBus to actually help with the hiring process. Like that makes total sense to me. I think of these people and I'm like, how different would my business have been in those years if I just had them? I mean, it's so valuable. It would have been so, because I know what they're doing right now, and they could have been doing it at my company. And like, it's crazy how valuable that is.
I mean, we're on the Big Roofs podcast, so everybody that's listening, think about what your vision of a big roof is, and think about the red carpet and the lengths that you go as a business owner to get that big roof across the finish line, whether it's, large commercial flat roof, multifamily, whatever it is, whatever your definition of a big roof is, your dream to hit, and the lengths you go to get those across the finish line and how involved you and your team are in that process. And then ask yourself, does our hiring process mirror that? And most of the time, if not almost all the time, the answer is no. It's different. And, I use the analogy of this isn't like fishing where the smart fish, the big fish, the ones you want to catch, they're, old and wily and they're just swimming around at the bottom of the pond and they're not biting. That's not this. The market is so competitive that, everybody's casting, and the ones you want to catch are getting caught pretty quickly. And so you're leaving yourself with the ones that, that's not a keeper anyway, throw that one back, or the ones that aren't even getting interviews elsewhere. And you're like, oh, back to my reactive hiring. I need somebody to run appointments. You're going to work. Let's go. And, that's just not a good model for success.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about it. We've broken down HireBus in the core of what it is. I'm super impressed. We talked few months ago, and this was very impressive to me. If you're a contractor and you like, okay, what is this all about? What's next steps for you? What do they need to do? Talk about pricing, what makes sense. I mean, I can't stress and emphasize enough the value of having the right people in the right seats. Like, we all know this is true. I think a lot of people are just hiring their cousins and brothers and friends, and they're like, this is good. And they don't realize, whenever I hired really great people so good that other company owners were like, I wish I had that person. I was like, and I didn't even have HireBus, but I was super thankful. I didn't have a process, but I didn't have all these things that would have helped me hire more of those people.
Yep.
So talk to the audience about what's next step, what makes sense.
Yeah. So next steps, couple things you can do. And we're still at the size, I think back to my days at Company Cam when I was on podcasts and webinars early, I had no problem throwing my email address out. And so I'll throw my email address out. It's just michael@hirebus.com, HireBus.com. So if you have questions, you want to inquire, that's a great spot to start. The other thing is hirebus.com/ProLine. And we've got just a booking link right there. So, if you're like, hey, I got a few questions, email me. If you're like, hey, I want to check this out, go ahead and book a time with us. Our team can kind of take you through a hiring audit. Our team can help you kind of put on paper, where are we at today? Where do we want to be in 12 months? What's that going to look like? Because a lot of it is, we know where we want to get. We know what we're doing with marketing. We're ramping that up. We know what we're doing with these things, but we're not thinking about the hiring until it's too late. And so it's like, hey, I want to get from, I mean, every contractor I talk to, I did 3 million last year. I'm going to do 6 million this year. Oh, what's that going to take in terms of hires? We'll probably have to add some sales reps. It's kind of nebulous.
Yep.
So you jump on a call with us and our team can kind of help you map that out and see what makes sense. Hey, what's your top producer producing? What's your bottom producer? What's your average? Oh, well, to get from 3 to 6, you're going to have to add 4 sales reps, 6 sales reps, whatever it is, so we can kind of map that out. And I think that's by far the best place to start, whether we're a fit or not, jump on a call with our team. We can go through the kind of that, mapping and see, hey, this is kind of what you need. And then once we have a kind of clear picture of what you need, we can kind of tailor the package to fit your needs, because everybody's in a different spot. I've been talking a lot about how we're just hiring on autopilot. And for a lot of companies, that's what you should be doing. You should be just running hiring at all times. That you should always be hiring for your sales roles, probably some of your labor, production roles. That kind of should just be on autopilot, and we can do that. But, if you're not a large company and you say, hey, I have 1 sales rep today, I'd like to add 1 more. Well, it doesn't make sense for us to be hiring on autopilot and charging you every month. We can go and just hire you a single sales rep, and give it like a 60-day guarantee where we say, hey, for $2,900, we'll hire you a sales rep and we'll guarantee that they stick around for 60 days. If they don't, we'll replace them at our cost. So,
yeah, that's huge. I was just looking at the pricing page. I mean, that's an easy button, honestly, compared to, I've seen so many companies with the model, specifically in the insurance restoration side of things. Like, we're going to get 20 sales reps. And you just said it, like, we'll just need some more sales reps. This is not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about hiring 7, 8, 9, 10 people, the best of the best, so that you won't have a bunch of $500,000 producers, 750. There'll be $1 million plus producers. I mean, that's kind of the low benchmark now. In residential roofing, you better be doing $1 million. And it's really creeping closer to $2 million. So the only way to do that is to have people who are a right fit. And that's just the sales side of things. But in general, don't make the mistakes that I did. Hire HireBus. Reach out to Michael. You click that link. We would love to help explain. Michael is super, super helpful and he understands the industry really, really well. So I appreciate you coming on today, Michael.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Anything else?
I
Did we
I
solve
think
it?
yeah, I think the last thing, I think we kind of hit it out of the park. I think the last thing I would say is, your hiring motion and your engine has to, when you reach a certain size, that just kind of has to be running, whether we're doing that for you or not. You have to have that motion kind of going at all times. If you're small, I get it, you're not probably always hiring, but you hit that certain threshold, $2-3 million in revenue, you probably need to have kind of that ongoing motion. And I think that's imperative as a, if I give you one nugget, turn it on, whether it's with us. I'd love it for it to be with us, or, you're doing it on your own DIY. Make sure it's running, and make sure you have a process for getting through all those resumes.
100%. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Reach out to us anytime. See you later.